Hi boardies, today I'm showing you Rome and Roll, how to set up, play and review. It's by David Turczi and Nick Shaw and it's published by PSC Games. So it's AD 64, there's been a great fire of Rome and we're representing an influential figure to look to see how we can best sustain the empire. And what we're doing is we're going to be rolling, writing and conquering. So we have Prefectus, we have Patricia, we have Legatus, and we have Mercatrix. So I'm going to pick Mercatrix, and I'm just going to show you an example using Mercatrix, how you'll play the game. I'm just going to be showing you the solo rules at the moment. It's pretty similar, but I just think it's easier to explain, especially during lockdown. More people are likely to play it solo. So here's the rule book. It's 28 pages long. The total time to actually explain the game and understand it was around 1 hour 55. Great rules people involved here and play testers. I know many of these people here. Having said that, there's about 8 small things that were a little fiddly, or I wish there was a bit more symbology, or symbology wasn't there. Let me show you how the game progresses. So you're going to set up with your character board, which for part of the game will be out of shot, just as I show you other bits. We're going to have Roma, so 1 or 2 players, 3 to 4 players. So start 1 to 2. Basically, we're missing off one of the 7 hills of Rome, amongst other things. So that's going to go there. You're also going to be missing off some settlement bonuses, getting fish and things like that. So that goes like this. You're going to have the start player. So if you're playing solo, you'll be going first. The second round, it'll be the opponent, basically. So you have a number of cards. Here's what they are. And they recommend for your start game 8 cards, which I've already got out. So we're going to place out these different buildings you can use: jewelers, markets, villas, training grounds, armies, the plaza, and the shrine. You have, this looks like, I think like David, I believe, victory points. So in the 4-player mode, or the 1-player mode, you're going to be leaving all of these out and play. So 1 and 4 players, the 7, 5, 4 and 2, and that's one way the game can end. If you end up taking the last of these, there'll be one final turn to the game. So leave them kind of out of shot, just kind of there. All right, you're going to choose a colour. So I've chosen to play orange the first time I played. I've played, I think it was blue. I've had the solo automata playing as brown. So I'm just going to pick green today. And I think I'll stick to that kind of neutral brown for the opponent. You're going to have your opponent represented here, which I think is called Seneca. And they are going to be playing out these cards. Once you've taken your turn, they're going to do something. Most of the times it's not to your favour. There's only one time where it is. You can change the level of difficulty, easy, medium or hard, based on how soon they reach a certain amount of these seals. In the base game it's 11, so in the normal easy mode, 11 of these things come out, and there are 18 cards, of which 2 are blank. They don't have any of these seals on them. And as soon as they reach 11, they're going to take one of those victory points. So they're competing for victory points. And as you'll see, they're going to be competing here. That's the only place we're going to be drawing on, apart from when we're drawing on here to mark off certain things, including our score. So the scoreboard and tracker is actually part of your main player board. So there's a lot of text on these main actions, and the only thing to be aware of is, I'm going to explain this bit last, because we won't need what we need until we need it. And finally, there are some resources on the back. Now, the great thing about this is you can flip it over and nothing's going to fall off. That's one reason why I think it might have been a roll and write as opposed to other things instead. So you're also going to need your respective colour, people who you're representing, and they have names such as overseers and things like that, but I'm just going to call them meeples. So sometimes in games I like to use generic terms. Some people hate me for that, and they say, why don't you use a specific name in a hero quest? I'm like, it's just to give people an overview. So we're not going to play with blue or orange, so I'm going to need my green guy here. He's going to go here, and my other guy is going to go on one of these locations. Now, let's call him the baddie. Keep changing around. He always starts on the religious building if there is one, and I believe normally the highest. You can pick who you wish to use, just remember. So that's how we're starting off. And what's going to happen is I'm going to roll some dice. There are some other cards, like I said, available here, and these are down here. Additionally, there are some god cards. So god cards could come out if I happen to trigger a religious thing, and I can basically have a selection, but as a starter, they always recommend using Mercury, Jupiter, and Mars. I'll say right now, in the 2 prior games, never once did I even manage to build something. If I did, I didn't actually use anything that the God card really gave me much. So that's one thing you can choose to go towards. Each board will have a unique ability, such as what you start off with. So in this case, I do have some resources: W for wood, B for brick, F for fish. So what else does that say? Well, aside from that, you need to be aware of these things down here. All of these things are victory points. There's victory points all over the place. So the aim of the game is to get the most points. Where can you get points? Well, you can choose to get some coins down here. And what you want to use coins for are to maybe curry things, maybe sell off some dice, some resources to trade in. That's more of a latter game thing, as you could probably imagine, because you can use resources for other things. You can choose to get settlements. So what settlements do is when you're going along these tracks, which I'll come back onto, you get buildings. So the more buildings you have, the more points you'll get. And you can get points here as well, which are kind of like glory points for colonizing and garrisoning these areas as well. You get points for each of your garrison or your legions. So 2 equals 1 point. And you can get points for senators unused. So you're going to toss all this up at the end, and anything from any of your cards which might have victory points. For example, if you have a brickmaker, you'll get 1 victory point for an adjacent brickmaker. That's a shape that you can draw. You can flip it, rotate it, and you're going to draw something like this. Like that. You can go right to the edge, so if it was somewhere else, if it was adjacent, well, there isn't one adjacent there, but I know on a prior game I did that, and then you just write in the letters BM. You could write brickmaker, but my writing's not good enough, and they recommend it like that. So I could do it again and do BM. So at the end of the game, I'll get 1 victory point per adjacent brickmaker. So get 1 for there and 1 for the other one. So I'd get victory points here. This thing is manufacturing, so I'd write at the end of the game 2 there if that's all I got. So you go through in all the bits, then you see your final score, and then compare it, for example, to in this game, the solo mode, how the opponent did. And what they'll be getting points for is parks, which is basically to rubble, which I'll get back onto, amongst other things. So you're going to roll the dice. Let's just see what we do. Finally, we have these regions. These are regions that are to do with Rome. I'll roll this huge dice and then just take it from there and see what we pick up. And I will put them here, which I'll leave them just here for the time being, because we don't need them in a minute, and see how we get on. I talked about these victory points as well, and I'm going all over the place. If you happen to complete and manage to reach, say, these blue zones, you're also going to get one of these cards. It's a race to try and get there first. And throughout the game, it looks like it's a very slow early start. It'll start to ramp up and getting more points. So, where do you want to consider going to? Well, if you want to go here, what you're going to need to do is basically do a certain kind of action, which is called expanding. So expanding here, it's nicely listed here because there's a few things to be aware of. And what you can choose to do is expand. So you can renovate roads. What you need is you need to use dice here, which represent that. So I could choose to use this one because it's got this symbol. So as an example, I'll just take it. Something I haven't explained is actually how the enemy, how they draw. So they are firstly going to pick a blue die. So you do know that Seneca is going to take a blue die. So 1 bag just for a white die. It's going to roll, and it's going to take the next highest thing. So the next highest thing, as I've already taken this to, is a 3. And it's my turn, knowing it's going to take a yellow next. I'm going to, I'll take this for now. Let me think about this. So now as we have to start thinking, I'll just take this for now and see what happens. Just to show some stuff. Okay, I'll take that one. It's going to take a yellow. It doesn't make any difference at this point. It'll take the next thing after 6. So it goes around 1, 2, 3. It takes that. You don't have to worry about those dice. They're going to now be used by the opponent to roll in the next round. So firstly, I'm going to have to use this ability. So in this case, I don't know what happened there. I've got an extra die here for some reason. Oh yeah, I've discarded something, didn't I? I discarded that one. So in this instance, I get to, if I want to expand. So if I choose to expand, it means I'm going to choose to go into one of these regions. And there are some abilities I can unlock for going there. So I choose to go to, let's say, Hispania. The reason being is the enemy always starts here, then there, then there, then there, for some reason. Don't know why they're not in a different order. But if I want to do that, I can firstly spend the symbol here and maybe use the additional icon on there. So I'm going to choose to go in here, and I may renovate to conquer a settlement in one region for a stone. I don't have any stone, so I might not do that. So instead, I might use the brick to do something else. So I'm going to go to one of these locations, and I'm going to choose to go to that brick manufacturer. So I'd kind of go here, so that my guy is going to go on there. And then I've got to build entirely on marshland. Marshland is any white area. So I'm just going to go like this. And that is BM. Having said that, I used the wrong colour pen. Now, you can move for free one space, so that's actually going to cost me nothing. But if I wanted to go an additional space, and an additional region from one building to another, then it's going to cost me 1 fish. So fish are resources you might want to hold on to. Okay, so there's that, and then there's nothing else I can use. It cost me 2 wood, so I've got a brick, so I add a brick to my collection, and I take off a wood. And there you have it. I've used up 2 wood, sorry. Now the enemy goes, and what do? Out of interest, they are going to choose to expand and trade. So now here we go, they're doing the thing that I wanted to do. So they always expand using rings first, jewellery. They expand 1 on there, and they're going to get victory points at the end, depending on how fast they've expanded. They get quite a lot for those as well. So they're going to expand. So they've done this. So those are points I could have gained if I managed to go there first. Also small others. And they're choosing to trade. So they're going to choose to basically trigger any ability I have. I do have 1. So I have this ability, which is the cog symbol. But any adjacent ones, I gain 1 brick. So I will get 1 brick out of this. So it's good having cogs, I guess, early on, as it's an engine builder. And that's their turn done. So now it's back to me. And it's my turn to think what I do next. I've got 1 die left. The reason for picking this one is I can pick any other building and get a resource 1 cheaper. I can't go to where I am. But this symbol lets me stay where I am and do it again, which I might choose to, because I do have 2 bricks. I could go down here, which looks quite nice. So the minute I'm over here, I do have a fish. So I'm going to come down for 1, move across for 1, spending a fish. And then I'm going to build those 2 bricks. So I'm going to build 2 bricks, which is a shrine, which goes here. And that's a shrine, SH. And that'll give me 3 victory points at the end of the game for building there. So I've always been keen to try and build there. And I'll get a God power card. So I can choose between Mercury, Jupiter and Mars. I think Mars is a great one to pick, because it's got loads of strength to it. Strength's important. So what's going to happen is you're going to start getting garrison points. And when you start conquering, you're going to realise that you're going to need a strength, say, of 4 to conquer it. So you need 4 people. But as 4 takes a while to get early on, you can choose to use +2 when you've got a die with the spear on it. So different ways of doing so. So this will continue. It could be a 9-round game, because there are a set of 9 cards. That'll be the end of the game. If not, it's going to be however many rounds when these run out, and then a final round. Having said that, it always seems to be 9 rounds. Normally this triggers, and then it's the final 2 cards anyway. So something to be aware of course, if I choose to expand these things, I'm getting victory points here. I'm rationing the game a little bit. And even though you don't get many victory points, you can gain the bonuses here as well. That can occur. Additionally, I did have some extra resources. That fish I could have spent to, when it's taking expand, which is gaining this, gain a resource. So that can be a good thing to have done. I could have gone here. So I've built in these further locations. I'd gain a jewellery. I can use jewellery to bribe. So I can also use the fish, as I mentioned, to bribe, or a basket. Or when I use a fish, I can gain a scroll. So various things you can choose to do, and ultimately you can then try and cross these off more and more until eventually, at least with Mercatrix, if you do the 5th one, you're going to get 4 victory points. Now, in some of them they're worth 5, such as when I played as Legatus, and I happened to actually get all of these marked off, the same in this game as well. I happened to max out quite a lot of these things. Mercatrix, I got a lower score. In both games I won on easy, about 88 points to about 77, and just over 100 to 50 something. There's various things you can work towards. You can get these buildings out. So what these cards can do is it can expand. So now this guy will move. So this is army large. So it's going to go over to the large. So of A4 and A1 or A3. So it's going to go to the largest value of the 2 cards. The A1s to A5s, so there's lots of variety. A3, A4, and it's going to block it unless you have this symbol to allow you to go there. So it's going to go there, and then it's going to build rubble. It's going to build rubble in Verminius, which is over here. It's going to build closest to Rome if it can touch Rome. If not, you can kind of choose where it goes. I think I'd rather stick it out of the way, to be honest. And that's just rubble. It's just blocking me. They happen to block me from getting to Equestrius, which is good for, say, this, or if it happened to stop me getting my adjacent brick manufacturer, then that's a shame. Sometimes it'll go here, which will stop me getting my shrine points. So something to be aware of is just getting in your way. Having said that, when it does build, it does generate a resource for something next to me. So that is a benefit. So the great thing is I don't mind if it builds it. Of course, I just don't know where it's going to build. Additionally, if I build next to it, this is why I talked about parks. If I happen to build, let's just say I build a shrine here, you get a plus symbol, it's now a park. At the end of the game, it's only going to score 1 point instead of normally, say, 3 for rubble. So things to be aware of. In terms of going along here, again, you need garrison. If you happen to have some points, so imagine you've picked up some legions, then you're going to cross off 1. Imagine this has been reached as well. You have to be able to reach it. Then you're going to cross that off because it's going to cost you 2. You've got 3, so you have enough. You cross off 1, and now you're there. This will give you some glory, so you're going to point down here. And eventually it's all going to start snowballing, so things can come together. In terms of the review, I give this game a 7-ish, something like that. What I found is it can be very tight. I mean, trying to get something out of the dice and trying to get everything out of it is a tough difficulty. For those who like games which are, you're really not able to maximize everything you have. You've got to be really tight and careful. But then you see that roll up and things just sort of start flowing is very nice. It's just got a very slow start. So that's something to be aware of. Again, I've only played it solo so far. I think it's tomorrow that I'm planning to do a multiplayer game. And I've heard it's better multiplayer as well. So it depends if you like the way these are interacting. I think the solo is very good. It takes under an hour to play solo, pretty much an hour. And compared to Terraforming Mars, which solo is about 40 minutes, one thing I will say, which is better than other games solo, is you never lose track of where you are. So that's a really good bonus for solo play. I've heard some people say, does it need to be, roll and write? I think it's effective. Of course, you don't need to draw too much. It's mainly around thinking, where can I use an ability? What can I unlock? And what can I use with it? Like I say, please check the comments and descriptions for what I think of for the other options going on. And finally, I'm looking forward to trying out these other cards. Any other questions or comments, please check them out. If you like the video, please hit the like button. And finally, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to catch all the new stuff, including what I think of the multiplayer variant. And I will plan to do a full solo playthrough of this as well, so you can kind of see everything that I'm doing and maybe why I'm doing it. Follow along. So thanks very much for watching. Speak to you very soon. Bye for now.